It's a bumper studio because it's been a week of huge news for Manchester United. First of all, the decision to sack Erik ten Hag. We sort of picked over the bones of his time at Manchester United over the last couple of years. They've made the decision now, and they've made the decision to change. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, like everybody else out there, obviously you always feel for a manager losing his job, but he was under huge pressure. Results haven't been great, not scoring enough goals. His results over the last year or two in the big games not great. League form, yeah, disappointing. You always are. But it's a new start, new manager coming in a couple of weeks. You always wish him well. Big challenge for him, trying to get Man United back, competing at the top of the table. It's a big ask, but obviously you wish him well. But you always have sympathy for a manager losing his jobs. And ultimately, I think whatever about the board, the players let him down by their efforts, not being good enough.
Gary, in terms of the new ownership, they decided to stick with Erik ten Hag over the summer, despite looking at other managers. They've now, at this stage in the season, we're only just into November, have decided to make the change. This appointment of Amorim, when he comes in on November the 11th, does this have to work for them? Is this a big decision for them as well?
I mean, look, it depends. I mean, the owners have not gone anywhere for the last, obviously, 20 years. Obviously, now Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos have come in. It's their first appointment. Saying it has to work feels a little bit desperate, but it'll have to go better than it has done in the last 10 years. The last 5 permanent managers have failed. They've not been able to get the best out of the players, either the ones they've inherited or the ones that they've signed. It's become a graveyard for players. I've said that before, and you'd be really sort of, a health check around signing for the club, unless it was Manchester United and you feel that the club can get back to its heights that it has reached previously. So it's an important appointment, that one that they wouldn't have wanted to have made. They would have wanted 12 months, I think, to embed in all the changes that are happening around the club. There's huge change off the pitch and on the pitch. In the sporting department, but they've had to make the decision because the results have been shocking, and as Roy said, the performances of the players have been terrible under him, and when you have that combination, it ends one way.
They might have wanted 12 months to bed in as owners, but when Ruben Amorim said, I'd like to join in the summer, they were like, no, it's now or never. How much harder does that make the job that he's about to take on? The fact that he is, and I know it's in an international break, but coming in and trying to make a change in the middle of the season?
Yeah, it makes it tough, I think, because I think he's made a good name for himself. It's an idea, philosophy, whatever you want to call it, in a different league, albeit. But to come here and make that the differences is going to take time. It's going to take work. If he is a change of system or change of ideas, very hard coming in mid-season to not be able to lay down your ideas. But I think there's also an element of excitement to it as well. I think just viewing from the outside, it felt like it had got to a point where the style and the play and the reactions week after week and the results were failing. So I think as a Manchester United fan, then you would look at it with an element of excitement, but they will certainly have to give him time on the work that he needs to do.
Did we see that in the win over Leicester in the Carabao Cup in midweek? The new energy that a new manager can bring, just the fact that there is any kind of change, Jamie?
It's so hard to tell. They were playing against Leicester's reserves to a certain extent. It was a big occasion, yeah, and they played well, scored plenty of goals. We'll learn more today, how much the manager and the impact that he made and what his tactics were, because, like the guys have said, we never really knew what team Manchester United were. Were they an attacking team, defensive team, counter-attacking team? It was impossible to tell. So what the new manager has to do, he has to figure out, and he has to have time. Time is of the essence for him, because he's going to figure out who he wants, who he doesn't want, the players that want to be here. I think Roy alluded to it. A lot of players have got managers sacked here by showing a lack of effort, which you can't have at a club like Manchester United. You've got to make your players run. For Ineos, it's huge decisions coming up, because I know you said this is their first decision they've had to make. The first one they made, they got wrong, giving Ten Hag a contract in the summer. He should never have been given that contract. Everyone can see it. And once you start looking for other managers, he's naked in that dressing room. You have no chance then. So it's only a matter of time. Because you've got a Sir on your name, you think, well, these guys, they must know, they're great business acumen. Football's different. They've got to get it right very quickly here, give the players the opportunity that he feels they need. And then as soon as he's not sure about them, they're going to have to move on and get his team as quickly as possible and give him the time to produce that.
Well, Ruben Amorim is the man that they will be hoping can get it right quickly at Manchester United. They have gone for the Sporting Lisbon boss. He will become Manchester United's new head coach. He'll join up with the side on the 11th of November, and he comes in with a really good record in Portugal. He's won a couple of league titles, and 2 League Cups in 4 full seasons at Sporting. So he comes in with that expertise. But at 39, he'll be the youngest Premier League manager. He'll be Manchester United's youngest Premier League manager. It was Sporting's first league title for 19 years in 2020-21. He won 49 of the last 57 league games in charge of Sporting. So there is that record there of success and of regular winning. And then when you look back on his career, obviously because he's young, it hasn't been a particularly long career. It started at Casapia, then he went off to Braga B in 2019, won the League Cup when he took over as head coach there. And also he has that history as a player. He's won 8 major honours, 3 league titles with Benfica, and he's got 14 caps for Portugal as well. Well, his first game in full charge of Manchester United, having joined up with the squad on the 11th of November, will be on the 24th of November when Manchester United play Ipswich. And you'll be able to see that live on Sky Sports. And that's the point at which we can fully assess Ruben Amorim and what his changes might be. I mean, you alluded to them a little bit earlier, Frank, but Roy, in terms of what he has to do with this squad of players, is it about major surgery? Is it about big changes, or is it about starting to make small changes at the beginning?
Well, at the start, obviously, it'll be small changes. He'll have to get used to working with the players. We obviously don't know really what kind of personality he is until he gets in. His CV looks obviously neat and tidy. Listen, the Portuguese isn't the strongest league out there, but you can only beat what's in front of you. The challenge will be, of course, getting players in. We make the point about there's a few players in the United team in big positions who can't run, right, which is a big problem. But they also have players in the team who don't want to run, or when they do run, they don't run hard enough, fast enough, or long enough. So he has to get that into the dressing room, that mentality. And for the players who aren't doing it, you have to try and move them on, which is difficult because they're on long-term contracts. In terms of a playing style, obviously, he's always been linked with playing 3 at the back, whether that's the way Man United want to go, because they're struggling to defend as a back 4. So I think getting players into that team, getting some spirit and some fight into it. The lack of goals is a huge problem for Man United. You look at the league club there, and every time I see after even 9-10 games, -3 goals for Man United, it's hard to read. So it's a huge challenge for him. I think the bottom line is we look at the managers who've come and gone over the last few years. Ultimately, they've not won enough football matches. Whatever's gone on, they've all been at maybe 54, 55%. Mourinho was on about 58. But the problem is Pep's across the road. Pep's over 70. So he'll have to try and get over 60% wins to try and get a little bit close to Pep. That's if Pep hangs around. So ultimately, he has to win more football matches than the previous managers, who all done decent jobs, and a few of them won some cups and whatever. But clearly, that's not good enough for the owners. They have to be competing near the top. They have to be certainly in the Champions League, whatever, for financial reasons. So it's a big ask. You wish him well. We wish him well, but it's going to be huge.
Gary, as Roy said, he is known for playing 3 at the back. It's something that you've mentioned in terms of Manchester United. So do you feel they have the squad that can play the way that he will want them to play?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a personal fan of 3 at the back. I never played 3 at the back in my life for United. But the fact of the matter is, you look at the centre-backs and full-backs that they've got, you just don't trust any of them in a pair, and you don't trust any of the full-backs to defend one-on-one. So I think the 5 would give them some extra security, I suppose. But you know, he has to get the best out of the players. I think the players do need to take responsibility of what's happened in the last 10 years, but the club have signed a lot of players that other clubs wanted, and when those players have arrived at Manchester United, they've deteriorated. Why is that? Now, it could be the coach, it can be the players, it can be the environment, whatever, it's too big for them, whatever we think it is, that's got to change. If he doesn't change that, he will fail the same way and the rest of them have, because the managers that have come here that have been tried and trusted, who've been successful, there are players who have come here with great potential, and ones that you thought at the time, they'd be good signings for the club, and they've not turned out to be. Only really Bruno, I can think of, in 10 years, has signed for the club and done more than I thought he would. I can't think of any other player, please correct me if I'm wrong. And that's 1.8 billion quid's been spent, by the way, in the last 10 years. So that's one thing that has to change. And then in big matches, they're always sat on the edge of their own box. They play like the underdog. And that's certainly in the last 6-7 years. Maybe not under Van Gaal, but in the last 6-7 years, you've got to then run 60, 70, 80 yards to score a goal. You know, they've got to get up the pitch, get the back 4 up the pitch, make sure they're a lot higher, win the ball higher up the pitch. They've then got to keep the ball in the attacking third of the pitch. That's how you dominate and control games, and that's how you win leagues. It's very difficult to win the league on a counter-attack game. You can play counter-attack in certain parts of matches, but Manchester United are not an underdog. And to be fair, Arsenal, Liverpool and City, they dominate games, they control games, and that's how you will win a league. They're miles ahead of United at this moment in time. But there are some things there that are nothing to do with winning, that if he doesn't get right, he won't win. And we kept saying for Erik Ten Hag, you know, what's the style of play? Amorim has got to get a style of play that integrates 2 or 3 of those things I've just said, or else he won't win.
And this group of players, don't dig in. When the going gets tough, they go under. They go under too easily, and they concede a little late goals. So that's certainly not a good reflection on them group of players as professionals, as characters, and as decent lads.
Right, why all those lads that are signed over 10 years, and there's been some really big signings and some good signings, going back to Di Maria, who's a fantastic player, and lads who I've thought, God, that's a really exciting set. Why have none of them excelled? What is it? Is it the manager? Is it the environment? Is it the players? What is it?
Obviously, it must be a combination of all that. Obviously, we go back to whatever goes on at the training ground. We go back to the manager. We go back to the bit of pride as a players. We've all done it. And people look at the manager, but I don't care if you're playing in front of 80,000 or 80 people. You run. You've got to run in this game. And this team doesn't run, and that's a big problem. Whatever, lack of talent as well. Again, we say there all the time. We go, they got really talented players. But if you're not going to run, you're going to get nowhere fast.
We've been negative about it, but what a job. What an opportunity. Because someone's going to get it right. It's a matter of fact. It was the same with Liverpool. They went 30-odd years without winning a title after Kenny Dalglish. Jurgen Klopp was that guy that transformed everything. Changed the culture, changed the belief. The fans started to believe in it. And it can happen. But football obviously goes in cycles somehow. And someone will change it because the club is just too big for it not to.
But we look at Pep. We keep have to look at Pep. What Pep's done across at Man City and whatever. And Pep, the great managers get brilliant players who are very wealthy and have won big titles to keep going at it. The key is the consistency. That's what makes great players and great managers. Turn up week in, week out. And this group of players, even today, we don't know what we're going to get here with Man United.
I actually don't, and even if like Pep and Klopp are amazing over the last 10 years, let's say we forget those two, and he just does what Unai Emery's done at Villa, or the guys at Brighton have done over the last few years, and get the team looking like they're a proper team and that they're engaged again. Because the first step's not going to be from where they are to the title. The first step's likely to be almost like a bridge. And that's meaning that they're going to have to basically sort of make steps. It took, Jurgen Klopp 4 or 5 years. It might take Amorim 4 or 5 years to succeed. But you've got to have something to hang your hat on.
Well, you won't get that, Simon. You won't get that.
No, I'm just saying it. Yeah. But he's got. If there's progression, I mean,
he won't get 3 or 4 years.
No, but even Erik ten Hag got 2.5 years nearly.
But his contract, he's only signed a 2.5-year deal. The manager.
Yeah, I think he'll get. Look, they're going to give him some time, I would imagine. And to be fair, I wouldn't let him sign anybody in the January transfer window. I'd say, look, let's see what these players can do under you for 8 months and work out. Because I don't believe. I don't believe they're all as bad as we're looking at every single week. I think some of them are better than that. They just haven't got confidence, they haven't got belief, they're not being given a way of playing. I'm not letting them off the hook here because, to be fair, they've been shocking. But I do believe some of them are better. We need to find out which ones can be on the train moving forward, because you can't just keep getting rid of players all the time and get rid of managers all the time. You have to hang in there with some of them and say, can we make Garnacho into a great winger? Can we make Rashford a 25
Man
goals?
United have hung in there with pretty much all of them.
My opinion is they need to take away. You talk about Klopp and Pep and Arteta, really successful managers. I think you've got to look beyond that. You mentioned Aston Villa and Brighton there. They need to get the big picture right. When I say that, I'm not taking responsibility away from the players, but players can use excuses. For the last, from the outside, looking at Manchester United for the last few years, is it the Glazers? Is it the manager? One minute it's the next manager. It's the next manager. They brought in, the recruitment's not right. And when you see what looks like a lack of effort, wherever it is, most players really do want to do well. They do want to run, but it's not reflective there. Players can use that as an excuse. So I think that there are many good coaches out there. I think this is a good, exciting acquisition, as I say. But he needs to have the support, he needs to have that time, and he needs to go, this is how I want us to be. Because nobody knows what Manchester United are anymore at the moment. He wants to go and coach, he wants to work, and then when he gets to the point and go, right, well, that one, he doesn't want to do it, or he's not going to work, I need wing-backs, whatever it is, to take this club forward. If they can get together, and there are no excuses for the players out there, then they can make those decisions easier.
You say at time, they go after this manager, they say he's going to be the one, and the first thing they do in the agreement, whatever, is they give him a 2.5-year deal. Or maybe that's what he wanted, but 2.5 years. Listen, good luck with that.
The statement would have been 5 years, wouldn't it? He said, look, just give him time.
I think that's a modern statement of where the manager's role is at the club.
He's head coach.
But you had it, Frank, with when Jose walked into your dressing room, and you obviously had good senior players, or players that you were close to winning, but he changed it, and Amorim maybe has that ability as well here.
Yeah, I think we should be positive from their point, because I think it needs a fresh voice and a fresh approach, without a doubt. It's that whether what Jose Mourinho came to Chelsea, we had a big spine of a team, and we recruited very quickly. Didier Drogba, Petr Cech, these players that became the mainstay of the team. Where is that now?
Yeah.
So what ones can you find?
There's more of a foundation in Chelsea.
There's
no foundation of the team here.
I like the fact it's fresh, because, to be fair, they've tried a lot of other things. I like the fact it's fresh, and to be fair, he comes in with sort of like a clean bill of health. There's no sort of previous attachment. I know Ten Hag was a little bit like that. But one thing he will get unbelievable support. The one good thing in the last 10, 12 years, the fans have been incredible all the way through with every manager. So he's going to get amazing support, irrespective of the results for the first few weeks, months. They're going to back him, and they'll actually expect more of the players than him in the first few months. So the players now, the spotlight is on them, and they're playing for their futures, because I'm sure he'll be quite harsh at the end of the season. He's got 2.5 years to try and get this right. He's not going to hang around. I mean, to be fair, you wouldn't hang around, would you? You just need to get rid of the ones that you don't want in straight away, and that'll be at the end of next season, though. End of this season, sorry. It's 8 months before he can change that.
I think we'll be talking about this a lot more at the end of the game between Manchester United and Chelsea. Gary, you're going to leave us now, but we're leaving on a fairly upbeat. Well, didn't like to say.